You know, every now and then the ordinary show is graced with what is termed as musical royalty. Singer, songwriter, actress, producer, and mother. The youngest daughter of the legendary Ray Charles, we have the beautiful Robyn La Joya Charles here to share some things with us about her life, growing up the daughter of such an iconic personality, and some upcoming projects that she's been engaged in. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's The Ordinary Show. Our guest today really could go without any introduction. She's a successful singer and songwriter, producer and artist. She's worked with the likes of Samuel L. Jackson and the late comedian Bernie Mac in the hilarious film The Soul Men. Her musical credits include collaborations with such greats as R. Kelly and Mannie Fresh, as well as gospel great Smokey Norfolk. She's recently been honored the national spokeswoman for the Women's Radio Network, WRNW1, and has new musical work being debuted. She also has recently collaborated with Carla Cook, the daughter of the late great Sam Cooke, on what they term as the Legacy Tour. We are ecstatic to have on the show this week the youngest daughter of one of the greatest artists in American history, Ray Charles. We have today the one and only Robyn La Joya Charles.
Hello.
Robyn, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I know one of the probably the most asked questions that you get is, you know, what is it like being the daughter of Ray Charles? But I'm not going to ask you that question.
Okay.
I want to ask it a little bit differently. What was some of the adversity of being the daughter of Ray Charles?
That's a good question because most people don't ask me that. I tend to tell people that being the daughter of an epic icon is a blessing and a curse. You reap some of the benefits of the accolade because people feel like you being the offspring of makes you a part of what makes them glimmer. So you feel royal or regal in a sense, but then you have those that forget that you were not the one that did all those great things.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't have $25 million, so I can't necessarily do all of the things that he could do in that fashion. But I'm fortunate to be able to say that I was blessed by God with some of the talents and gifts that I have, and I do believe that I can attribute some of the things I learned definitely from my father.
What are one of the earliest memories that you have of your father?
I was about, I want to say 5 maybe.
Okay.
And my dad would come to town and maybe twice a year, so when he would for a performance, I would go and see it. And this is the earliest one that I can remember. And my mother had bought me this dress. It was very long with ruffles and lace and this horrible pink. It's like Pepto-Bismol or something. I don't know, but I just really didn't get into the color of it, but it had these bells on it, so it was fabulous.
Okay.
Because everywhere I walked, I was ringing. And the very first time I saw him perform, I wore that dress, and I just remember walking in and feeling like a princess because everybody stopped as I started ringing my way into the performance, and he's in the middle of his show, so it was absolutely fabulous that I got to interrupt that.
Most of the time that was spent together, was it during shows and whatnot?
Generally speaking, yes.
Okay.
Early years, that was pretty much how I had contact with him. He traveled a lot, he toured a lot. I lived in Chicago, he lived in LA, so I was very little. There really wasn't a place for me at that age. When I got to be a teenager, we got a little closer. We started spending our own time a bit together. So I did see him more outside of that at that point, but other than that, yeah, it would have to be more so just performances and public engagements that he had in town.
Okay. You grew up in Chicago.
I did. Shot Town.
What was it, south side of Chicago? What was it like growing up in Chicago? Did you have to You didn't have to fight, did
See,
you?
what had happened was, it was great. No,
Okay.
honestly, like I grew up on the west side. I was born on the north side, and I ended up my last few years on the south side.
Okay.
So I kind of got the best of all of the city.
Okay.
And I loved it. I absolutely love it. It's the greatest city to me in the nation. I just don't like 20 degrees below zero
Right.
and 4 feet of snow. So other than that, I could live with it.
Because your father was a singer, did that draw you into music or
No,
being?
not really.
Because
When
I understand at the
little,
age of 12, it was like, this is what I want to do.
I think it was earlier than that I realized that it was just that's when I made a commitment to doing it.
Okay.
I started singing when I was about 6.
Okay. Then.
And that's when I knew that music was what I wanted to do. I just didn't understand how I was going to do it. So at about 12 is when I started to step out on my own and make the decisions to do things that involved me singing, joining choirs,
Okay.
doing talent shows,
Okay.
auditions, stuff like that. Those were the stepping stones to my musical career,
Okay.
but I made those decisions at that point.
You say you grew up in an artistic environment, even your father aside. What type? Describe to us the family of the Ordinary Show. What was that environment like?
The family environment?
No,
Or
the
the
artistic
artistic environment? It's very interesting. My mother, like most moms, you have soccer moms and then you have stage moms.
Right.
And I had a stage mom.
Right.
My mother was a singer as well.
Okay.
She was just good at it. She
Right.
necessarily didn't want to be a superstar.
Okay.
She just knew how to. So she would live vicariously through me, I suppose. So she was always putting me in things, commercials, acting gigs, stage things.
Oh, okay.
She had me singing at the Cotton Club in Chicago downtown.
Okay.
The South Shore Cultural Center, singing with live bands. I was, 13 or 14, and I'm
Interesting.
coming in and out of nightclubs singing, like a lounge singer. Who would have thought? But things like that. She was always taking me to open casting calls and
Okay, then.
things of that nature in order to find my niche in entertainment. She knew I would sing. She just didn't know if I was going to be committed to it. So she figured I'll test all the waters. I went to modeling school.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, I went to I told you I'm a model mouth. I'm just going to keep on talking. When I was about 12 or 13, so I had a very short modeling career for about 2 years.
I got you.
It came with a contract
Okay.
after school, so I was signed with MTM of Chicago for about a year. I did some print work. I was a runway girl, though. I wanted to walk the catwalk. I had a strut, baby, and I was this big.
Okay.
So most of the people who did fashion shows figured there are not heels high enough to make you fit into that 6-foot category. So we're going to stick to something.
And then it sort of trended toward vocal production, songwriting.
Yes. Strangely enough, that came when I was in college.
Okay. Columbia College.
Yes. I remember the first time that I wrote a song, I was about, I guess about 13. Like 13 was that cusp of when my career started to take its form and what I wanted to do. And my mother was like, you should write a song. I was like, why would I write a song? I'm not a songwriter. She said, well, you don't know if you're a songwriter until you try to write a song.
Right.
So I said, that's a good point. I guess I'll try. And one day I wrote a song. And I could never even imagine what that song is to this day. I didn't even know what to do with the song, but I had done it, so it was like, okay, I can call myself a songwriter. So when I got to college, a friend of mine who was a beat maker, an MC, he said, I'm working on this project for a girl in high school, and I can't write for a teenage girl. So obviously, you were just a teenage girl a few years ago, maybe you can still do that. And that's what started my writing career. I just kind of sat down with him and went through some music and thought of some ideas and some concepts and told some stories.
Okay.
And I started writing from that point.
I tell you, we have so much to talk about. We're going to take a short commercial break. Okay. We'll be back with Robyn Charles. Come back and join us. It's only going to get gooder and gooder. It's The Ordinary Show. Welcome to The Ordinary Show. I'm your host, Clarence Blackshear. Thank you for joining us today. The reason I wanted to do this show is because we wanted to recognize ordinary people in our communities that are doing extraordinary things that often go unrecognized. In this format, we'll get to see those people as they enhance our communities. We'll have artists, performers, politics, and we'll have substantive conversation, even with a laugh or two. So listen, come, you'll enjoy this journey that we take called The Ordinary Show, and remember, one act of kindness ripples throughout our entire community, and ordinary people become extraordinary. You call your sound the urban sound. Mm-hmm. Describe that for us.
It's like I do a lot of R&B, a lot of soul music. I grew up on soul and gospel music.
Okay.
A little bit of jazz.
Which hopefully you'll do a little bit for us
Maybe.
before we leave today.
Maybe. But I do also work with a lot of hip hop and urban artists, and do a lot of pop writing. So, and I'm really into ethnic music, Caribbean, Spanish music, reggaeton. I just love music. So what I've done is kind of merged, you know, all of the music kind of together in this very unique sound, as well as you'll hear remnants of a lot of those different things in some of the songs that I produce or that I put out. So there's really no other term for it other than urban soul. You know, it's not neo soul because that's done already.
Okay.
There is some old soul in it, but the newer stuff, the more current material that I'm working on is just very fresh, very different.
Okay.
So what do you call the stuff that don't really have a name? And
well, I would, urban soul.
It's urban soul, you know. So that's kind of what I coined it.
What is your passion like?
I don't really think I should tell you that. I don't know if that was in the contract that I could tell you all my business like that. That's personal. No.
I mean, you're involved in so many things. And I know one of the things that are important to you is, you know, since they've taken many of the music programs out of schools, that children really don't have that artistic outlet through school.
Yes.
But then they you know, sort of, there are other entities that try to provide that sort of nurturing.
There is, and there are. I was fortunate as a young person to benefit from a little bit of that, and obviously you bring your own kids into it. But what I found is it's just not enough. You know, we're always taught that it takes a village to raise a child, and the village is not just the people in the community, it's also the things that you nurture your kids with, the education that you give them. It takes that, and culturally, music is a part of our heritage.
Okay.
As a people, as a race, as a human race, it's a part of our fabric and our being. Our bodies function on vibrations, and that's music.
Right.
So it's almost impossible to think that we could function without it.
Okay.
And the idea that the government or whoever's brainchild it was to start pulling that away because of finances is probably very elemental in causing the demise of some of our young people.
You know, there are two things that I remember, Robyn. Two very distinct things. One is that when I was growing up, which I'll drop a little nugget on you, while I was born and raised in Albany, Georgia.
Okay. Good business.
Good business. Which is known as the hometown of Ray Charles.
Ray Charles, yes.
But in every single household that I was in, there was a piano.
Right.
How many times? You know, there was a piano.
You didn't have a TV, but
whether
you had
they
a
knew how to
piano.
play the piano or not, there was a piano there. The other thing was that there were always somewhere in a garage with a band. We had so many bands, and almost instantly, and I know you've seen it, almost instantly off the scene, where are our black bands?
It's not even the bands, it's just the idea that music was a part of your family construct. Even if if you didn't have a band, if your uncle
Right.
or your cousin or your
Right.
brother didn't have a band in the garage, they were in a group.
Okay.
There was a crooning group, you know, somebody was singing, or your cousin, your sister, or your auntie was in a dance group. Or there was just this element of that everybody had that understanding,
Exactly.
and they just don't do it anymore. And I want to blame it on.
Well, some would try to
capitalism,
blame it on hip hop.
you know?
I mean, you can't really.
No,
It's just there was
totally
a
not.
trend, right?
Hip hop was just a different culture. Hip hop was an opportunity for those who were not musically inclined
Right.
to still speak their, their piece, to express themselves. And like I said, you had these young hip hop artists that had a lot of frustration and tension and animosity, and instead of going out and joining gangs and fighting and
Right.
shooting and killing and stealing, they went into a studio, they sat on a corner with a radio and they beatbox and they put it in lyric.
Right,
How
exactly.
can you bash that?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, some hip hop today is not quite what the intention of it is, but
Right.
at the same time, the remnants of it is the same. So the question about where is it gone is it's gone in the technology.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
some of what you're doing, and that leads us to this. Some of what you're doing is in your effort in trying to bring some of that back, and which is with the Legacy Tour, which when I first heard about it, was absolutely fascinated. You have to tell us about the Legacy Tour.
It really wasn't my brainchild. It was just something that I was brought into.
Okay.
I found out about the beautiful young ladies, Sam Cooke's daughter, Carla Cook,
Okay.
and Jackie Wilson's daughter, Brenda Wilson.
Okay.
They were doing a showcase, calling it Grouping It Up.
Okay.
And I thought, how awesome would it be to be on this project with them as the daughter of Ray Charles? The things that I could learn from them,
Okay.
and from where they came from and their backgrounds. For the benefit of my career and my future, I just wanted to be a part of it, and they welcomed me right on in. So from that,
Okay.
it spawned a separate idea from the producer of that event. And they were like, we need to take you guys and give you to the world.
Okay.
Let the world know that you're here and that you're doing these things, because it's a shame that people don't know, and you keep your father's legacies alive.
Interesting. Interesting. Who else is involved?
Right now, we are pulling in Isaac Hayes' daughter, Heather
Okay.
Hayes,
Right.
Millie Jackson's daughter,
Keisha Jackson.
potentially James Brown's daughters,
Okay then. This is
James Brown's
Whoa.
son, hopefully.
Right.
We are going in a bunch of different directions, so maybe some country talent.
Okay.
So it's just the opportunities are endless,
Okay.
and we're really hoping that everyone that can see the vision in it
Okay.
will come on board. More than anything, I think our biggest mission, which makes what we're doing so great, it's not just about people knowing who we are and what we're doing, but what we're doing is trying to help other people. So we're
Right.
raising funds
Right.
for the charities that we support.
Okay.
And I think that that's the greatest part about it. Who cares who we are?
Right.
Everybody already knows who our parents were
Right.
and what they did. So now let's take those two elements and put them together to create a better vision and a better platform for a cause beyond ourselves.
Robyn, what else you got coming up?
Oh my goodness, let's see.
I know you're
Where
doing
do
so
I
many
begin?
things.
I have the kickoff for the Legacy Tour event
Okay.
called the Legacy Premiere Jam Session,
All right.
where I've invited all of these lovely people out to do music with, just like rock out, so to
Right,
speak.
right.
We're doing that. I'm working on a reality show with my sister,
Okay.
Sheila Ray Charles, and my nieces,
Okay.
Jamie and Gina. That will be coming up sometime this year, hopefully.
All right.
I'm working on my very first album project. At least that's what they tell me I'm doing. I don't know that I really want to do it, but we are putting songs out.
Okay.
I just released a single last year.
All right.
My very first single out. Thank you very much. I'm so proud of that.
Well,
because it's been all this time and I finally did it.
Hopefully, we're going to take a small commercial break. Hopefully, when we come back, you'll share a little bit of that with us, if possible.
Okay, just maybe a little bit.
Ordinary Show family, we're going to try to convince her to give us. Come on back with us. It's the Ordinary Show. You know, you have so much, you have so many different genres out there, and you call, you describe your music as urban soul. Tell the Ordinary Show family about urban soul.
It's like gumbo for music.
Okay.
You take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you mix it all up, and
Okay.
then you end up with this great brew. But that's what music is anyway, right? It's
Right.
like it all kind of came from someplace else. It all has a little bit of gospel in it.
Okay.
Gospel is where a lot of the gospel came from. A lot of the rhythmic, ethnic music and sounds,
Right.
and jazz is nothing but a little gospel with a little classical, and
Right.
you mixing all of this up. So for me, it's taking all of the remnants of all of these different types of music and incorporating them into what I'm doing. This is the music I love, so I want to hear a little bit of all of it.
And you've recently collaborated, or you've recently gotten with A-Class Productions.
have,
Tell us about A-Class Productions.
A-Class Productions is a all-encompassing production company that was started by a young man named Terrence Jordan.
Okay.
Very enterprising and ambitious young man, 25. And he's doing some very great things here in the city.
Okay.
Originally from South Carolina, and he just decided music is what I wanted, and it's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to jump in, head first.
Okay. What type of work does
start.
A-Class Productions do?
It is a production studio, a
Okay.
recording studio, a
Okay.
video production and editing studio.
Okay.
We do a little bit of everything.
Okay.
We shoot commercials, we shoot music videos, we shoot reality shows, we produce all kinds of music,
Okay.
country, pop, gospel, R&B, neo-soul,
Okay.
hip-hop. We have a writing division where we write all of the same types of music. Really, I got to give all the credit to, the founder and the owner of A-Class, which is Terrence. He
Okay.
pretty much does it all, and I just take the credit. That's what I do. I want 51%. No, really though. I just really am in great support because he supported me,
Okay.
in my career. He's been elemental in helping me to develop my sound.
Okay.
And putting together a lot of these projects. He's also my MD for my live performance, so we
Oh.
do live production too.
Okay.
I pretty much just have turned him into a Jamaican and given him 13 different jobs. But you know how it is these days, you
Right.
have to have 20 in order to make it. But music is music and art is art, and you always end up finding yourself falling into those different categories because when you're doing entertainment, you're doing entertainment.
Yeah.
So.
How do you feel, with a lot of the music programs being taken out of schools and whatnot? How can we replace that as a community?
Really, truly, and honestly, I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to be one to say, go to your legislature, and because it's probably not going to work. But
Okay.
if you put your kids in an environment where the arts are happening, they'll naturally gravitate to one of them. Every kid starts with a crayon,
Okay.
and they usually start on your walls. Right. I've even had people to say, you can repaint your walls, but you'd have no idea what kind of genius is going to come out on that wall if you give them the freedom to express themselves. You just have to tell them not to draw on other folks' walls. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that would be what you do. You just start them somewhere, put them somewhere.
Welcome back. Robyn, it has been such a privilege and pleasure
Oh, thank you.
talking with you today.
I hope I didn't talk your ear off too much.
Oh, no. It's been a complete honor. What you got coming up? Tell us, you got, besides you got a song, you got
I
music
have,
coming up?
I do. We are going to be screening my music video
Okay.
at the event on the 4th,
Okay.
the Legacy Premiere Jam session. And I also have another single that I'm going to be putting out this summer called
Okay.
Smile. It is like my ode to all of the hate and all of the violence, and how we combat that.
Okay.
You know, it's a reason to still look up and smile.
And
you know
smile.
what I mean? So,
Even through all of that.
all right.
Well, that's our show for today. I can't say how much I've been honored to sit with Robyn. The only other thing that would honor us more is a little piece of your song. Can you do a little piece?
Shameless.
Until next week, one act of kindness ripples throughout our community and ordinary people become extraordinary. Robyn.
Let's see. Wake up in the morning, cloudy from your dreams, hoping for a brand new way to fit into those jeans. Put your makeup on, straighten up your tie. Don't forget to polish it up and make it all look right. Little do we know, it's not about the superficial, but it'll get better in a little while. It's okay, go ahead and smile. Things will get better in just a little while.
It got quiet then.
Well, you can tell everybody. You can tell everybody.
I didn't know I was gonna do that either.